Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? I got a real important show for you guys today. This is going to be a very informative show, but this show is also going to shock you. Now, some of the things that we're going to cover today is going to require me to give you a trigger warning. Now, you know we usually don't give trigger warnings on this show. This is a show run by an experienced sex crimes active duty detective, and when I give it to you raw. Some people can handle it, some people can't. But there are times where you have to do the right thing and notify your audience that this one's going to be heavy. So if you've experienced some type of trauma that might be triggered by me reading out text messages between a predator and a bona fide child victim, this may not be the show for you. But I think this show is very important because we're going to start this show off by listening to a judge during a preliminary hearing call out a monster as a monster. And that's not something that we see too often in this world, in this country, in this political atmosphere. We see a judge speaking truth to power. And what that judge said and what that judge's observation of the trial so far is something that needs to be said more often than not. And it was the truth. And the truth was everybody failed Naziah Harris. I'm going to say that one more time. Naziah Harris is a little girl who's preyed upon by a prolific pedo. I can't even say it because it's YouTube. You guys know how you guys know what I want to say, right? A pedo. Well, let's just leave it there. A ped. Let's leave it there. Hopefully YouTube will be all right with that. She was preyed upon by a prolific ped that everybody in the community knew that this person was a ped, not just from his actions in the community that made people aware of his proclivities, but the fact that he had gotten in trouble in the past for those type of activities. Everybody knew who this man was. Nobody cared. People put their friendships, people put their own personal desires and lusts before that of the safety of a little girl. And when this judge looked at that evidence, this judge concluded everyone failed. Everyone failed Naziah Harris. And this judge had no qualms letting everybody know in the court, her family, her friends, her community. She let everybody know, you failed Naziah Harris. Now I could sit here for another hour and pontificate and summarize what she said, but I'm not going to do that. I want to let you hear her words because nobody on this planet could put what she had to say better than her. Now, just to explain to you what's going on, they have not found the body of Naziah Harris. She was killed. The police believes, and the district attorneys, and they're gonna prove their case that Naziah Harris was murdered by her pseudo uncle. He was not an uncle to her. He was just a fling with her auntie, an auntie that it appears put him before her. They believe that he killed this little girl. They believe that this little girl is dead and gone, but they haven't found her body. So because they have not found her body, they had to go through what amounts to a mini trial where the prosecution shows their evidence and walks the judge through the evidence to show that even though they don't have a body, they have enough that they can prove that he killed her, even though they don't have that physical proof of her body to say how she died and if she even died. So that's what this was. It was almost like a mini trial to determine if there was enough evidence to move forward with an actual trial, including a jury that will decide innocence and guilt. So this is what you would probably call a probable cause hearing, a hearing that shows that there's enough evidence to move on to a trial. And that's what we're dealing with right now. So this closing remark by this judge does not mean that Jarvis Butts is guilty of murder. It is just basically her giving her personal observation, her venting on what she believes the evidence is telling her at this preliminary stage. This was not a trial, but it was almost like a trial. And I think that is so important what she had to say. So I got to get to work today, so we're going to get through this. I'm not going to fly through it. I'm going to give you your show. But we got to get through this so I can leave and go handle the business I need to handle. So without further ado, let's start off with this statement from the judge. And then we're going to move on to other statements that are very probative and relevant to this case. And then we're also going to go on to the text messages, of which I have to say Trigger warning for those text messages, because they're bad, ladies and gentlemen. They are certainly bad. Let's keep going.
Regarding the trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in pink is the quote, in this case there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or a weapon leading defendant to Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances. I do agree this is a circumstantial case, and circumstantial evidence is sufficient for a bind over and even conviction. Today is January 9th, 2025, exactly 1 year, from the day Neziah Harris disappeared. Before I get into the charges, and the main charge of premeditated first-degree murder, I have to speak on Neziah Harris and the community who failed her. And I am only presented with certain evidence. I don't know the whole story. The attorneys know more than me, the family knows more than me, but from what I have heard over the last 4 days and 5 days total, is that several people failed her. I don't know where her mother is. I don't know anything other than that she was forced to live in a home where she was not protected or given the adequate attention and love.
And just to fill you in, her mother, she said, I don't know where her mother is. Her mother is a bona fide drug addict. Somebody tracked her down on the street. Her mother is a bona fide drug addict, living on the streets, etc. Let's keep going. Father, non-existent. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. Father's being in the home. Father, absolutely, positively non-existent. Let's keep going.
I don't know where her father is. I don't have any mention of him in her life, no presence. To Cordell, a.k.a.
Actually, if this is the same case, and I apologize for it, I got to check my notes because there's two of them that happened at the same time. My understanding is that the father was pretty much like a John for the mother, and he was married and had his own family. And when Neziah was born, he wanted nothing to do with Neziah because that would have messed up his marriage. And I believe he went on a radio station and all that stuff and apologized for it. He was getting a lot of flack for it. But it doesn't even appear that he still is playing a large role in this child's life. If anything changes with that, I'll let you guys know. But my mind's eye reminds me that this might be this guy. Let's keep going.
A king and all the men who saw Jarvis Butts hanging out and always around these young girls, including Neziah. And his 9-year-old daughter going up to the shop to clean up his shop. The school counselor who never showed up, or the person who was supposed to show up if that counselor was absent, after Neziah was on the floor on the day she went missing, saying that she needed to speak to someone and speak to a counselor. There's no mention of CPS, but I wonder what their involvement was over the years, because this was not just a 1-year thing. There are text messages at least from 2022. To her adoptive grandmother, Annette Harris, whose testimony, in my opinion, was very questionable. I understand.
All right, so you missed that. First of all, the school counselors failed her right before she disappeared and most likely died. I mean, she's gone. Let's just accept reality. She wanted help. Nobody helped her at school. She reached out. She said, I need to talk to somebody. Guess what? Nobody reached out back to her. They left her hanging. Now she's going to talk about the grandmother's testimony.
I understand why the people put her on the stand to establish Neziah's residence and the houses on Bedford and the regular routine, to establish also that Neziah was not a runaway child, that she was not a bad kid. I do believe she adopted Neziah. I do believe that she had 6 kids in the house. I believe that Neziah had on a dark hoodie the day she went missing, and that she had on red and black Nikes that day. What is hard to believe is that the defendant never came into the house as she testified. And there was also a minor that testified that he did as well. Text messages that show between him and Neziah that he did in the basement, saying he was going to the shower, stealing her panties. He was always lurking around that house and asking for Janiyah and Zaniyah, from what I know.
Minors knowing that he's always in the house, he's stealing her panties, smelling her panties, doing all kinds of pedo stuff. The grandmother's saying, hey, he was never in the house. He was never here. Everybody's trying to save their own arse. He was never here, but the kids are saying, that's a lie. He was here all the time. He was here all the time, and not only was he here all the time, but he was here all the time looking for Neziah. Let's keep going.
I even thought about the breakfast routine and saying that all the kids like eating breakfast at school. Did they have a choice? I don't know. But to always send those girls up there to clean up the shop raises questions. And how were there two women in that house who had birthed children themselves who did not notice that Naziah was pregnant, and I believe she was, and not having her period anymore? But then after hearing text messages today, begging Jarvis for pads as if she didn't have anyone else to give them for her. And what stood out the most was when Annette Harris stood on the stand, and she learned around 6 p.m. that Naziah did not come home from school, and said she looked.
Listen to this, guys. I know I'm stopping it, but this is what we do on the Strategic Guide Show, because I got to point this out for you. Some of you guys are doing other things, cleaning dishes, doing plastic surgery, solving world peace, and you might miss these details, but the truth is in the details, ladies and gentlemen. The truth is in the pudding, the minutia, because this woman is speaking, and every sentence is a fact. Every sentence is a traumatic fact of how this little girl was failed. Listen to this one more time.
Naziah did not come home from school, and said she looked around for her and decided to wait until the next morning to call the police.
This little girl did not come home. This little girl did not come home. And this lady waited until the next day. The next day to call police. This was a baby. This lady waited for the next day to call police. It shows you how much Naziah was not loved, how much she was not appreciated, how much she was not valued by these people who will come before news cameras and pretend like Naziah was their world. No, she was not. She was a burden. She was a burden. Let's keep going.
Without a tear, without emotion, or any expression of being devastated. And to her Aunt Shannon, who also showed no emotion, expression of being devastated from Naziah going missing. She stated that she had friends help look for Naziah, but was directed to just wait until the morning to call the police. A grown woman who likely suspected something strange going on didn't feel the need to call the police either.
13 years old, guys. 13 years old. Doesn't come home? No problem. Yeah, I sent friends to go look for her, but I stayed in the house and I didn't call police. 13 years old, guys. 13 years old.
They were both able to go to sleep at night without hearing from Naziah or having any indication that she was coming home at night. And of course, the defendant, who I will get to in a minute. I don't know who else failed Naziah, but the community did. As far as the people establishing probable cause, I will focus on count 1, as it's been stated that there is no contention with counts 2 and 3. In count 3, I will amend based off of the motion and the testimony I heard that Naziah was 12 and not 13 at the time that Jarvis Butts had sexual intercourse with her. The prosecution is correct. You do not have to have a body to establish first-degree premeditated murder. It would have been a much shorter exam had her body been found, but this is where we are. In the last 365 days, no text messages. We all heard today and yesterday that she was very active and frequently texted. No social media for a year. We heard through testimony that she was also active on social media. No phone calls, which she was also able to do according to testimony. No physical sighting of her by anyone. She never came back to school. No one has seen her. Medical records dated from July 2014 to October 2023 indicated that she had no life-threatening medical issues that would lead to a natural cause of death. The black hoodie found in the area of 7 Muhlenberg with her DNA and blood on it. The holes in the hoodie consistent with some sort of struggle, violence, or weapon being used. And we know that there were no holes in that hoodie when she wore it to school. We saw a picture of her in a black hoodie on her last day that everyone saw her. I do believe her grandma testified truthfully about the sweatshirt that she had on and that was practically new. And the border agent who said that no evidence of animals would have destroyed the clothing or the shoes to possibly lead to animals tearing up that hoodie. The clear glasses found in the blue Nissan the day after she went missing. The behavior of the defendant when he snatched those glasses. They looked exactly like the glasses she had on in her last picture, according to the witness. The shoes that her brother described as the same shoes that were found also in the area of 7 Muhlenberg near the hoodie. While this is still probable cause, the evidence all points to Jarvis Butts. His locations, him being seen with her last, the abortion searches, the abrupt silence between the two of them in text messages.
We're going to go into those abortion searches because the judge knows what happened. The judge is going to say what she believes happened. I mean, nobody really knows what happened. She's going to tell her theory, and I agree with her theory. And, you know, I'm going to jump the gun. Her theory is that he needed that child to have an abortion. He probably tried to do a self-abortion for himself on her. A self-initiated abortion, however you want to say. He wants to be the operator of the abortion. It went botched and he killed her. Or he wanted her to get an abortion. She said no, and then he killed her. That's what happened. She's so young, she can't just go get an abortion. People are going to find out. Somebody has to go with her. She could lie and say, hey, you know, it's another boy my age, but children that age can't consent even if they're the same age. So police would have to get involved anyway. And he's afraid that under the certain questioning, under the right therapist, the right police investigator, that it might get out that he is the father of the child, and whoop, he's in jail. But what is up with this community? This guy had, they said, around 21, even more children with multiple women. With the aunt alone, he allegedly had 5 kids. What is up with these people? He was a bona fide ex-offender, a bona fide pedo, and this woman made 5 children with him. 5 children with him. What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with the self-esteem of these people? That you could keep procreating with an animal like Jarvis Butts. Why? Because he has curly hair? Why? What did he bring to the table? What did Jarvis Butts bring to this world that made him deserve to bring life into this world? And then they make these children, and then they don't protect these children. These children come last. They come last before their own vanity, last before their own desires, last before their own lusts. These children are made to be the last thing on these parents' list of priorities. And this is what happened. And they come on the news and they boo-hoo and cry with their spokespeople and their friends and their high-powered attorney, and they blame the whole world for their own failures. So God bless this judge for calling them now on the stand and for the whole world, to let the whole world know that nobody's to blame but you, grandma. Nobody's to blame but you, mommy, but you, auntie, by all the women in that community who failed this little girl when all they had to do was protect this beautiful black child. That was their only priority. They didn't have to worry about nothing else. You already know, guys, we're taking care of them. Our tax dollars is taking care of them. They didn't have to worry about food. They didn't have to worry about housing. Our generosity handled that part. All they had to do was love her and protect her and put her first. And everything else would have worked out. Because guess what? Naziah was a good girl. She was a good student. She cared about school. All they had to do was love her, and she would have taken care of the rest. Let's keep going.
And the constant lies he told throughout the entire investigation. And they were proven to be lies with text messages and other testimony. We may never know what happened, but from what I heard today and over the last 4 or 5 days, it appears he intended to perform what he thought was a do-it-yourself abortion on Naziah, and it went south, and instead of seeking medical attention for her, he intentionally killed her and tried his best to cover it up. As much as I want her to be alive today, there is at least probable cause to show and believe that she's dead and she was murdered by Jarvis Butts. Mr. Butts, stand up. You've been sitting over there for 4 days with your head down, sitting between and behind your attorneys with your mask on and taking vigorous notes. I want you to pay attention and listen to everything I have to say. I have been trying to figure out for the last 5 days, you. At one point, I thought you were cognitively impaired in the beginning of this exam. And then maybe you had the brain of a 10-year-old, and that's why you were doing such things. But as I heard more and more testimony, you're just the true definition of a pedophile.
Boom. You don't fool us. The little act you put on, making yourself meek. I'm meek. I'm harmless. I'm misunderstood. No, you're a monster. You're a monster. You're a pedo. You're not meek. You're a beast. And I'm so happy that the judge was able to see through his rules and call him out for it. Let's keep going.
Watching you laugh and brag about all the women you have with children.
He worried about COVID. He not worried about COVID. He just covering his face because he's ashamed of the creature that he is. There's no COVID in there. Nobody else got those masks on. He got that mask on so he does not have to expose his mask so that his real mask won't be taken off for the whole world to see him for what he really is. That's why he's got that mask on. I wish they had the right to say, take that off your face, but we know that that's not going to happen after this whole endeavor we went through with C-19. But that's his cover there. That's so he can hide his face, just so that we don't see him smirking when they're talking about the abuse he did to that child. Because I guarantee you, he's such a monster, he probably gets pleasure out of hearing what he did to that child. I guarantee you it. You better believe me, because this is what I do for a living. These pedos are sick. They get turned on by hearing about their exploits. Do not think for 1 second that they are human like you and me. They are not human. They are the definition of the beast. When the Bible described the beast, they were describing pedos. Let's keep going.
With different women and the children and the girlfriends, and making babies to groom them and having them in your presence, cleaning up, quote, cleaning up your shop. And the little girls around you have landed you here today. You groomed Isaiah. You played mind games with her. We all heard that. You controlled her emotionally. She was exposed to so much at such a young age. The text messages between you two were disgusting to hear. And to think that she had you saved in her phone and begged for life. Isaiah deserves so much more. And while I mentioned other people that failed her, Jarvis Butts, you are the monster in this whole picture. She did deserve love from her parents and everyone who was in her life. She was ignored, she was neglected, and you took complete advantage of that.
Right.
She wanted someone to love her, and she will never know what that feels like. Your children deserve more. As much as defense counsel has raised issues on count 1, all it has done is raise the question of fact for the trier fact, which means that this will be for a jury or a judge to hear at Third Circuit. I pray for the healing of all the victims and the young girls and possibly boys who have come into contact with you. As a community, we should look at this case as a prime example of how much work we have to do when it comes to protecting our children and especially our Black girls. I pray for closure and healing for all those who have been traumatized by you. And for you, Jarvis Butts, I wish you a speedy trial and that justice be delivered. Your bind over date is January 16th at 9 o'clock a.m.
Now at 11, an FIU honors student.
What's happening here? All right, cool. Let me bring it back to me. So because I was going to do it a little bit later, but because she brought up the text messages, I want to go ahead and read through those text messages. Let me go ahead and then we're going to do the Google searches after that. Big shout out to everybody who's in the room supporting the channel. Please hit that like button. I don't know if there's I don't know what there could be you would not like about what we're talking about here. Bringing awareness to this little girl who did not get nearly the amount of coverage that she deserved. I tried to cover it before. I spoke to Roxy. I think somebody brought up inside of the chat. I invited her on the show. Nothing came out of it. It's nothing personal. It is what it is. She did get on some much larger shows, which is great because this little girl needs exposure. But I covered this for a very long time. Not as extensive as 7 Mile. I mean, I went on their Facebook. They were so extensive. But I covered this. I gave it a shout out. I put it out there. You know, unfortunately, people don't like watching when, you know, certain things, when the national media is not covering it, people aren't watching it. That's why channels like mine exist, because we don't care if the national media is covering it or not. We're going to bring awareness to it, because this is what we do. This is my raison d'etat. If you're new to the channel, I'm a sex crimes detective. That is what I do. That's what feeds my bills, not YouTube. What pays my bills is when I leave here, this same outfit is what I'm going to be using to do investigations on the streets. So it's a passion for me. So we're gonna stay on this case, and we're gonna keep giving this little girl awareness till she gets the justice that she deserves. Because it's not a game. So big shout out to everybody who's watching. Please make sure you hit that like button so that we can get into the algorithm and more people could be exposed to who Naziah Harris is. And if you're new to the channel, or even if you're not new to the channel, share this on your Facebook. Share this on your Instagram. Share this on your Twitter/X. Share this on YouTube. You got a YouTube account, that's why you're watching this. Hit the share button and send it back out there. This is the way that we bring awareness. This is the way that we save that new girl, that little girl right now who's out there in the world, who's being preyed upon by that disgusting fake uncle that auntie's bringing around, or mommy's bringing around. This is how we save that child, because somebody in that circle, it might be that actual aunt or that mom or grandmother or friend or neighbor. They'll watch something like this. They'll understand Naziah's case by watching the show, and then they'll say, wow, I see those same telltale signs. I see that with the girl across the street, or I see that with my niece, or I see that with my daughter. And then they might do something about it. They might bring it to somebody's attention. They might call 911. They might stop the abuse before it starts, or stop it before it ends in death, like it ended with Naziah's death. That's why we do this, because awareness saves lives. Now, my platform's always open to anybody who wants to reach out and wants to talk. So if Roxy ever wants to come on the show, that invitation is still there, so we can have an in-depth interview. And it's going to be a different type of interview, because when she goes on the 7 Mile show, she's talking to a radio station host who's doing an amazing job. But when she comes on this show, she's going to be talking to an actual detective. So my style, my questioning, and the way that I'm going to approach this case is going to be much different than her being on Law and Crime talking to a reporter and a lawyer, or going on 7 Mile talking to a radio host. She's going to be talking to a bona fide detective, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. And we might uncover some things that have not been uncovered yet that will help this child get the justice that she deserves. That's all I got to say about that. Let's keep going. I want to bring you guys to the text messages. Very, very sad stuff. Extremely sad stuff. Unbelievable, man, that in this day and age, we still have children being preyed upon like this child. This is not the 1700s. This is 2024. We're supposed to be civilized, ladies and gentlemen. So this is on my Patreon. I post this on Patreon. It's going to be free for anybody to view. It's not free right now. The reason why is that when I upload stuff using my cell phone, they don't allow me to get the free option that everybody can see it. So I have to upload on my phone because I'm on the move, and then when I get to a computer, I release it for everybody. I would never charge people to see this information because this is public information. So when I'm done with this live, rest assured, I will make sure that it's free, and you can go on a Patreon and you can view this material without subscribing as a paid member. A lot of content that I put on a Patreon is free for people to just be able to subscribe to me for free and check out. And then if you want those exclusive content, because we do put some exclusive stuff up on there that nobody's going to see because it's too spicy for YouTube, then you decide to be a paid member, you get access to the rest of that stuff. But being a member of the Patreon is important because you will get access to things that you want to see and not have to pay 1 cent for it. So this is going to be one of those things. Just give me a little bit. When I'm done with the live, I'll make sure it's free for everybody, okay? So let's start off here. These are, of course, Strategic Eyes research crew did this for us. It's another picture that was supplied by the research crew. Of course, they got it for free off the internet. This is available for anybody. We're not going to claim anything that we didn't really do. So let's start off with those text messages. Big shout out to Lovely Queen 777 with 199 super sticker. I appreciate you. Trigger warning, ladies and gentlemen. Trigger warning. All right. This is September 27, 2022. Remember, this girl died when she was 13 years old. This is a 1-year anniversary of her death around that time. How old was she when this happened? She'd be 14 and is 25 right now. She was 13 in 2024. She was 12, 2023. This is around 11, 12 years old, guys. This is 11 going on 13, going on 12. That these conversations are being had, guys. This is a taste of how long this abuse has been happening. So he says, come on. This is Harris. Come on. Harris, you okay? Harris, where are you doing it at your choice? Butts. Excuse me, this is the baby. And Butts is the bad guy. Let me say that again. Come on. Harris says, you okay? Harris says, where are you doing it at your choice? Butts says, you tell me. Harris says, the basement. Harris says, you sure? Harris says, or job. Remember, he was constantly bringing her to his job to clean up. He was constantly bringing her to his job to clean up under the rules that this is his niece. But he was graping her at the job. These were places that he could be alone with her. Yo, she got a little job. I'm teaching her how to be responsible. She comes to the job, she helps clean up, and I pay her a little bit of money. Perfect rules, right? Perfect rules if you're a dummy who has 5 kids with this pedo, even though you know that he's a convicted pedo. Perfect rules that you would believe that he's taking your 10, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old niece to a secluded place like his job so she could learn how to be responsible and have a little job. It's perfect rules if you're willing to fall for that from a pedo. Perfect rules that you're allowing your niece, your granddaughter, to go down to a basement unsupervised with a convicted pedo. Perfect rules. Well, we're going to the basement. Nothing happens in the basement, just basement stuff. Let's keep going, but please hit that like button, guys. We're going to get through this. Harris says, or job. Butts says, can you perform fellatio, please? He did not say it that way. You could read it in the background, but that's what I got to say for YouTube. Can you perform fellatio, please? Then Butts continues, and make sure you erase the messages. Harris says, Kay, that is what I plan to do. She's fully indoctrinated, fully groomed. She's under his control. Let's keep going. Butts says on June 5th, 2022, Butts says, I'm at your house. Harris says, damn, you were just there. He doesn't give her any reprieve. He was just there. He's back for more. Harris says, you better not be in my room. Harris says, I need another phone. Harris says, I miss you. As you read these text messages, you start realizing that nobody's doing anything for this little girl. Her support comes from him. So that's another level of control that he had on her because he had a job and he was giving her things. He was buying her phones. He was buying her pads. She didn't even have a support structure at home where people could buy her sanitary napkins, ladies and gentlemen. She had to get her sanitary napkins from her abuser. Let's keep going. Butts says, I stole your panties. June 24th, 2023. Well, she says, I need another phone. Well, let's go back to June 5th. Just make sure I'm clear with that. She says, I need another phone. She says, I miss you. And his response was, I stole your panties. On June 24th, 2023, Butts says, send me some pictures, please. That's CSAM, by the way. That's CSAM. Harris says, don't you still got other pics? Butts says, no. Harris says, I will send some. June 27, 2023, Butts says, are you naked yet? Harris says, I don't want to get naked. Harris, are you mad I didn't get naked? Butts says, I used to you telling me no. Harris, come on, babe. I'm sorry, just not in the mood right now. I'm sorry. Look at the stress that this little girl is under. That she's being forced to be in an adult position. How sad this is. Let's keep going. September 26, 2023. Harris, bae you up? Harris, question marks. Harris, yeah? Harris, my period haven't come at all. We are in the danger zone, ladies and gentlemen. We are in that zone that's going to result in the ending of this child's life. Those words sealed her fate. If those words were never spoken and that reality never occurred, she would still be getting abused right now, and this predator would still be free abusing her. Because her grandmother didn't care. Her auntie didn't care. Her mother was so cracked up she didn't care. Her dad didn't give a damn. Her bio dad. Nobody cared about her. But these words right here was her death knell. That signed and sealed her death warrant. So let's keep going. Harris says, hello, you there? Of course he didn't respond. He didn't know what to say. Because he knew that this meant that he would be spending the rest of his life in prison. But says, what you mean? Harris said, it have not come. Or rather, she said, it have not came. Let's keep going. But says, since when? Harris says, since I was in the hospital. But says, that was last month. Harris says, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I have to go to the doctors tomorrow. But says, you said you took a pregnancy test and it was negative. Harris says, it did. But says, so get another one. Harris says, I can't. I have no money. Now think about this. You are the adult preying on this child, and you want this 13-year-old child, 12-year-old child at the time, to go to the drugstore and buy her own pregnancy test. Like, geez, man. This guy was treating this little girl like she was 25, 30 years old, ladies and gentlemen. He was treating her like she was an adult. Yo, just go get a pregnancy test. Let's keep going, man. And she's a little baby. So when she said, I'm scared, she really is scared. She doesn't know what's happened to her body. She doesn't know what's going to happen to her future. This is a baby with the prospect of bringing a baby into this world. So when she says, I'm scared, you better believe she's scared, because there's a big difference between your 25-year-old girlfriend saying, babe, I'm pregnant and I'm scared, and a 13-year-old, at the time, a 12-year-old girl saying, I'm scared. She has a lot to be scared for. Her body is not even designed to make a baby at that time. She may be getting her period, but physiologically, she's not ready to make a baby. So when she said she's scared, I want you guys to internalize that in this chat, and everybody else who's going to watch this. This child was scared. Let's keep going. But says, you said you took a pregnancy test and it was negative. She said it did. But says, so get another one. Harris says, I can't. I have no money. Harris, you go get one. Harris, you ain't scared to get a plan B? Get a pregnancy test and bring it later. Today, just act like you have to use the bathroom. Harris, please. Harris, will you do it? She's begging him to go get a test. And she's telling him, you wasn't scared to get a plan B? Why don't you just go get the pregnancy test? So remember, they had scares before. They had instances where he made mistakes and he ejaculated inside of her and he had to go get a plan B to make sure she didn't get pregnant. And Harris is calling them out for that. She said, you wasn't scared to get a plan B before. Why are you scared to go get a pregnancy test? Just go get one and give it to me and I'll take it, please. And she's begging him because she's trying to understand what's happening to her body. Let's keep going. She's saying hello. He's not giving her a response in a timely manner, but eventually he responds, okay. November 27, 2023. Harris says, I just want to talk. I really don't want to lose you, because she's scared, because I'm sure he's ghosting her now because he doesn't know what he wants to do. His mind is racing, so he can't give her the same attention that he was giving her before. He probably doesn't even want to give her the same physical attention that he was giving her before because he's scared for his own self. He's not scared like a man would be afraid having a baby with a woman that he may not be really into. He's just his little paramour or something. He's scared because this is a child. He's broken a cardinal law in America. He's made a cardinal sin. He knows that not only is he going to jail for life, but he's going to hell for all eternity. There's a lot weighing on this man's shoulders, this pedo's shoulders. So he's probably ignoring her. He's probably not giving her the same attention. She's feeling that. So she's reaching out. So Harris says, can we talk later? Yes or no? And once again, Harris is reaching out. He's not responding. Harris says, I don't want your problem. I don't want your problem, but I need you to bring me what I need tonight. It's hard doing it all this gym-ish with this baby. And if I don't do them, I'm going to get an F. So she's saying, yo, listen, I got a baby growing in me and I still got to go to gym and do all these calisthenics. And if I don't do it, I'm going to fail in my class. But it's hard doing this while trying to pretend and live a normal life when I know that a child is kind of growing in me at the same time. This is so heavy for this child to deal with. It's too heavy, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep going. January 9th, 2024. This is your final text message between Butts and Harris before she went missing. So this is a note from the prosecutor. That's why it's in italics. So let's go to an actual statement. Harris says, don't forget to be there before 3. I will let you know when I'm leaving the school. If you're not there, I will wait. Remember, these are text messages that they're having, but they're having phone conversations too, and they're probably having in-person conversations too. So they've already spoken. They've already made arrangements for them to meet, and this is going to be the unfortunate ending of this beautiful life, this beautiful, innocent soul that was corrupted, that was abused, that was mistreated by Butts, by her whole family, and yes, her whole community. Her last statement is going to be, Harris, send okay if you send a message so I can delete your number. And Butts responds, okay. And that is the last message that we have for this little girl. It's sad stuff. She meets him at the job. He kills her. He disposes of her body. Some people are saying it was inside of a lake or something, a river. I don't know. Some people saying it was inside of the job. I don't know. We never seen a body again, but we found the evidence. We found the blood-stained clothes. We found shoes. We found holes in the sweater indicating trauma. Some item, some object used to poke holes in that item, whether she was stabbed to death or shot, who knows? We found the evidence of end of life. And if she's in a river, she may never be found. And here we are where we are right now. So now I want to play for you guys 2 things and then we'll call it a day. The next thing we're going to play is the Google search results that this beast did prior to ending her life. And then we'll play the family talking about Naziah, and then we'll call it a day. I told you guys it's going to be a full show. We're going to cover a lot of ground because I want you to get the full picture before we move on to this trial that's going to be coming in a couple of months. I want us to get that full picture. All right, let me bring it in and let's keep going.
Search warrant for jarvisbutts82@gmail.com.
Yes.
And I move for the admission of people's proposed exhibit. I forgot. Say debrief.
Any objection?
No objection.
To be admitted as people 63?
Okay. Now I want to go back to the first page and use it with the subscriber information. Tell me, who is the subscriber?
So it has a Google account ID number, then it gives a name that says Jarvis Butts. It has an email address, jarvisbutts80.
Guys, do me a favor. Please hit that like button. This is not easy doing this line of work and talking about these things. And it takes a lot of energy. My stomach hurts right now because I got my diaphragm is constantly contracting and I'm so passionate and I speak passionately. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time. And what we're doing is we're trying to bring awareness to this and we're trying to give a voice to the voiceless. And the only way it's going to work is if we get into that algorithm so a wider audience can see what we have to say, so that Naziah is not just something that a few people know in the community and in this small niche part of YouTube, so that everybody knows Naziah's name. So please hit that like button, not for me, so that this show can be put out there and we can get awareness out there. We could reach a wider audience and Naziah's name can get out there. That's why I need that like button. So please hit that like button. Let's keep going.
@gmail.com. There's also a phone number that's connected to it, which is 313-585-8719.
And is there a birthday associated with that?
Yes. November 21st, 1982.
And moving on to the searches, what dates do those searches encompass?
These searches are December 9th,
Of what year?
yeah, December 9th, 10th, and 11th of 2023.
Okay. And it's fair to say that those are the entirety of all of the searches from those days.
It is not all of them,
Okay.
no.
Those are just select ones from the Google return.
Yes.
All right. Starting with December 9th, tell me which ones that we have in that exhibit.
So the first, you want me to read the ones that are just highlighted, or you want me to start at the top of here? So,
The ones that are highlighted.
okay.
Just start with the ones that are highlighted.
Yeah, so this search was December 9th, 2023 at 3:32 UTC time. So you would actually have to subtract 5 hours, which would make it the night of December 8th. And the site is, what's visited, it's Drink Me and Abort Your Baby, the Herbal Abortion Tea by Maya.
Okay. And what about the next one after that?
There is a site that's visited on December, it says here December 10th, 2023 at 9:32 p.m. UTC, so -5. And the site visited is plannedparenthood.org/learn/abortion/the abortion pill.
And yes, the
next search is immediately after that, so December 10th at 9:32 p.m. UTC, the abortion pill, get the facts about medication abortion. There is a search that was conducted before that on December 10th, 2023 at 9:31 p.m. UTC. And that site is plannedparenthood.org/blog/can I use herbs to have an abortion at home.
And the next
The
one?
next one is December 10th, 2023 at 9:31 p.m. UTC. Can I use herbs to have an abortion at home? Planned Parenthood.
And the next one?
The next one is December 10th, 2023 at 9:36 p.m. UTC, so again, -5 hours. And that site is, it's ansirh.org, research, over-counter medication abortion. Search December 10th, 2023 at 9:36 p.m. Over-the-counter medication abortion, and that's from that same place before, ANSIRH. December 10th, 2023 at 9:32. Planned Parenthood, abortion, the abortion pill, how do I have an abortion using only misoprostol, misoprostol. The next search, December 10th, 2023 at 9:32. Planned Parenthood, learn abortion, the abortion pill. So it's like the same, back and forth to the same site. On December 11th, at 11:43 p.m. UTC, so -5 hours. Specifically, is searched is, can I drink red antifreeze? Again, that same item is searched again right after the same time, 11:43 on December 11th, 2023. And I believe that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I got two ADAs basically trying to get me to come for two different cases at the same time. So that's why you see me focus like jiddling over here, because I'm like, yo, you guys need to coordinate, because both of them got very serious cases that they need me to be there for, but I'm only one person. I can't testify in two different courts at the same time, and they want me to come in to work early, and it's like, come on, man. You know, what do you want me to do? I'm one person. So I apologize for that, but you heard it. You heard this guy searching up all the different ways that he wanted to end this child's pregnancy. You heard it with your own ears. So now the last video, and it looks like I'm going to have to run out of here to go take care of this court stuff. But listen to the family member talk about Naziah Harris on the 1-year anniversary.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lori Clark Horton, and I would like to welcome you all, and thanks for coming in and listening to the story, very sad story of little Naziah. We are really, really happy that her aunt and her cousin were able to join us tonight. And first, I'd like to thank the host of Community Advocate Network, Deborah Mitchell, for inviting me as her co-host tonight. So upon welcoming all of you guys, I would like for Janelle and Kawana to come in and introduce themselves about Naziah. What type of person was she? What is some of her background?
All right, hold on. Big shout out to, I thought this was actually, I thought this was a news channel. I just looked at it. They, got a nice graphic here. Good, big up to them for their graphic. I like the. I'm in the way, but you can see it a little bit. It's nice graphics. It's called Community Advocate Network. So I thought this was a news channel. I don't typically like to use anybody's content like that. I don't think it's cool. And I also, just because I'm multitasking, doing so many different things, I looked at this number and I thought it was just going to be 2 minutes long. It looks like it's 2 hours long. So we're just going to play a few minutes, and then I would direct you to go to the Community Advocate Network. I don't know anything about their channel. I don't know about their ideology. I don't know how what kind of stories they cover. I know nothing about them. So you be the judge for yourself, but I would encourage you to go to their channel so you can watch this interview in its entirety, so you can at least hear the perspective of Naziah's great aunt and cousin of Naziah Harris, Kiwana, to Jernell, who's a great aunt. Looks kind of young to be a great aunt, and Kawana, who's the cousin. You can hear their perspectives. We're just gonna play a few minutes, and that's it.
Just kind of fill us in on the truth of Naziah.
You want to go first, Kiwana, or you want me to go? Or
You can go. It's fine.
Naziah was sweet. She was quiet, affectionate. She was an innocent child. She loved to dance ever since she was small. 6 months old, she could dance better than most grown people. Really good in school, well behaved. She was isolated, so she didn't get the opportunity to even achieve her full potential.
Okay, Kawana, do you want to share?
Yeah, she was, like she said, she was a really loving young lady. She loved attention. She loved being around family. She was the typical little girl. She really was. And as she said, she just didn't have, the proper support.
Okay, and I'd like to let the audience know, Naziah that name is kind of like a little different name for me, Nigeria. She
It's-
was a 13-year-old, a young 13-year-old, coming home from school on the school bus, as any other child would have. And for what all we know for right now, that she never made it home. Nigeria was really just basically in the limelight that she was about to just go. Am I correct? Was she was going home, or was she going to visit? Can you kind of tell us something about her getting off the bus and what came next?
For what we understand, she was supposed to get off the bus and go home.
You know, people are asking good questions. And when a question, and listen, I don't like to be too judgy. I'm judgy. I'm not gonna lie. You guys know I'm judgy. I call people out. So that's why a lot of times I don't have family members and friends on shows, because I have no problem talking to you today and we have a great conversation and you give me some good information in an interview. And if I get information that you are negligent, I have no problem calling you out that next day. Like, yeah, this person was on the show, but they're negligent. It's part their fault. Fuck them. I have no problem doing that, because I have no mercy for anybody but the victims. I have no mercy for anyone but the victims. I don't care about your feelings. I care about the victims. So people are asking good questions. One of the questions that they're asking is, well, she's such a good girl. And I don't have the answer to this. There might be a good answer. Why didn't these people take her in? I'm just asking. She's living in a house with 1,000 kids, with grandma and auntie. She's around a sex offender that everybody in the community knew that this guy was a sex offender. Why didn't nobody take her in? There might be a good answer for that, but it's a good question that people are asking inside of the comment section. Now, I see somebody, Black Beauty, said they tried. I don't have all the answers, so in no way am I denigrating these folks. There might be a good answer, like maybe they did try. Maybe they went to court and they were denied. Maybe the grandmother didn't want them to have it. Maybe the mother fought. Maybe there might be a legitimate reason why, but I think it's a good question until we understand why. But let's keep going.
We've been isolated from the family because of our feelings towards situations going on in the household. But basically what we got information from family members who have spoken to us, she was supposed to come home and she didn't.
And I just want to throw this out there. Her next statement kind of answered that question. She said they've been isolated from the family. Maybe she didn't have a good relationship with the family. And if you don't have a good relationship with the family for whatever reason, you're not going to know the happenings of what's happening. You're not going to know if somebody really needs help. You're not going to be able to reach out. So like I said, don't have the answers, just asking questions. Sounds like she kind of gave an answer to that question. Let's keep going.
She was supposed to come home and she didn't, and she's 13 years old. So how do you have any idea, Kawana, how long it was before anyone realized that she was not home, she did not come home or get off the bus to come home, to go home?
Honestly, I think it was too long before anyone in the house realized that she didn't get off the bus and come home, because I would have realized right away that my child wasn't walking in the door at the normal time that they usually walk through the door.
And what was that time frame? Could you share with the audience?
Cousin not playing. She's speaking the truth. She said, you should have realized right away that the little girl didn't get off the bus. That's what most responsible parents would do. I'm with her 100%. Thank you for saying that, Kawana. Let's keep
before
going.
They really realized that she wasn't home.
Well, from what I read in like news reports and things like that, and the police that I talked to, she should have been arriving home a little bit after 3:00. I even went over there and sat on the corner of Cornwall and Outer Drive and watched the buses come. I wasn't exactly sure which bus she was on, but all the buses came within 2 to 3 minutes of each other and were gone by 3:10. So she should have been home between 3 and 3:15, because the house is right around the corner from the bus stop, not even a 5-minute walk.
Literally.
So again, has anyone figured out the amount of time what was the time frame that she actually became missing?
We know they said that she went missing after getting off of the bus. That's all we know. We just learned recently that they didn't realize she was missing until around 6:00.
And that's when Was
Yeah.
the police called? Did the mother, the
No.
guardian notify the police?
No, all the information received is that they claimed that they went to look for her, but no neighbors on that block. We went and asked when we passed out flyers. The neighbors on that block said they didn't even know a little girl was missing, especially not the little girl from that house because they were familiar with that house.
Right.
Let me explain something to you guys. The reason why I'm popping in here is because I'm going to be leaving soon. I cannot watch this for much longer because I have to go to work. I just explained to you guys there's a lot going on today. And after I handle all that business in the courts, I'm going to be working until 2 in the morning. So it's going to be a very long day. It's going to be a 14, 15-hour work day in itself, right? That's not even counting commuting, all right? There should be a law that if a child goes missing for more than 5 hours, and I'm saying 5 hours to be generous, okay? It should be much shorter, but I'm saying 5 hours to be generous. If I was in the dictator of the world, it'd be 2 hours. It will be 5 hours to be generous. There should be a law that if a child goes missing and a parent does not call 911 to report that child after 5 hours of that child not being located, which I think is too generous, that parent should be charged with child neglect. How is it that this 13-year-old child that was 12 just a few weeks prior does not come home, nobody knows where she's at, and people are able to go to sleep and not call the cops until the next day? And we just supposed to say, okay, we're supposed to take that cocky-maney excuse and say, okay, well, you know what? She said, well, I'm going to wait till tomorrow. Yeah, that's good enough. As society, we're supposed to say, that's good enough. It's okay. No big deal. Yeah, most reasonable people would do that. It's okay. No. Auntie and grandma and anybody else in that house who knew that this child was missing should be prosecuted. That whole family should be blown up, should be torn apart. And each one of those children should be put in their own individual room with a psychotherapist to make sure that they were not victimized by Butts or anybody else that those women have brought around those children. Because I guarantee you, based off of what we know about the character of these people from how they've presented themselves through this trial, through this case, that they're reckless people. They're ghetto, ignorant, reckless people who probably, in my opinion, I have no evidence of it, but in my opinion, probably brought other predators around those kids. Because this is a cycle. This did not start with Naziah. It just ended with Naziah. Do you think that this bona fide pedo never looked at any of these other children? You think that his other children were safe simply because they came from him? These pedos don't care about familiarity. They don't care if you're family or friend. They care about opportunity. They are opportunists. And he had 21 opportunities to go and experiment with. And if you think Naziah was the first one, you're a fool. I know Detroit is a poor town. They got some rich areas, but it's largely a poor town in a kind of mid-tier state. They're not the poorest state, but they're not the richest. I don't know what resources they have, but they better get those resources. And they need to separate every single child that's in the custody of that aunt and that grandmother. And they need to make sure, I'm not saying separate forever. I'm not talking about destroying their family that they never see each other. I'm talking about for investigative purposes, they need to sit these children down with an experienced, accomplished psychotherapist, and they need to do forensic interviews with those children. And they need to make sure that there aren't any other victims. Because I think there are. I think those women were reckless, are reckless, and will continue to be reckless, and will never hold themselves accountable for what they did. They will just blame Jarvis Butts. They will never look in the mirror and say, what did I do to contribute to this travesty? They'll never do that. And because they'll never do that, their children will forever be open to being victims themselves, because these women will never self-reflect and make changes that will prevent this from happening again. If you don't do self-reflection and say, well, what did I do wrong? You will never, ever correct what went wrong and prevent it from happening again. They will keep the cycle going. And if those children go untreated, and if those children go without the process of justice, they might grow up to become predators themselves. That's the sad story about this. That is the circle that exists in these situations. And that's why I'm asking for an intervention. 2 more minutes of this, and Strategic is out of here.
Familiar with the house.
Yeah.
Were there any other children, young children, older children in the house that you know of?
Multiple children frequent that household and live in that household. At least, let me see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
What the? She not even done counting, and I had to stop it. What is this? People made that many children back in the day because they needed those children to till the fields. And the life expectancy of children was like 50% was going to be dead by the time they reach adulthood. So in the past, without birth control, and when we're doing manual labor in the fields to feed ourselves, you had to have 10, 15 kids. These people are making children like it's the Middle Ages. This is modern times. Do you have nothing else to offer society but your loins? But your reproductive organs? Whatever happened to female empowerment? Isn't it like the time of feminism and all that good stuff? Like these women are acting like all they're good for is for making children. 10 children? Is that where she's going to stop? Let's keep going. Let's see if there's more children.
And at least 11 children.
11 children. 11 children. No fathers, no money. Everybody's living in abstract poverty. Everybody's hungry. Everybody's filthy. Everybody's uncared for. Everybody's forgotten. Everybody's being preyed upon. What is that to be proud of? 11 children frequenting one house. 11 victims. Possible victims, at least. 11 babies. Come on, man. This is crazy.
Wow.
I've lived in that house recently, and currently there are 7 that live there and 2 others that may possibly still frequent that household.
So after the tragedy, we're down to 7 permanent residents and 2 possible part-timers. How many rooms does this place have? We work our butt off and we have our home for our family. We couldn't even fit 11 people here. We couldn't even fit 11 people here. This is crazy. This is crazy. What do we expect? We bake these recipes of disaster and then we get mad when we get a disaster cake. We put in no effort and then we get mad when we yield something that is unworthy of what we desire. These people ain't even trying. They're not even giving these kids a chance. They're not even trying. We got exactly what we were expected to get based off of the circumstances of this child's life. It ended just the way it was going to end. When you're cavorting with a sex offender, you're making tons of children, you're living in abstract poverty. We got exactly what was destined to happen based off the choices of these adults, man. This is so sad.
One of the things, Lori, if I can interject for a second, yes. One of the questions that is commonly asked in terms of the family, I want to, get through this and go on to some other things, but not only were there a lot of small children in the house, it has become public knowledge in terms of, number one, everybody knows Jarvis Butts, who is been identified as the suspect in this crime, and of course, as of today, has been bound over to trial to face all of those charges and even increased charges. The prosecutor added, or it upgraded, I think it's the better term, a charge today. So we are grateful for that. But one of the questions that I get a lot in the comments is asking about the grandmother's history in terms of her having her own children and how she was able to get foster children. And then was Jarvis Butts living in the home or not? things like that. If you guys could clarify for us any, whatever information you can share, because of course this is still an ongoing investigation. So we don't want to say anything that's going to interfere.
All right, so she asked a good question about kind of like what's happening with Jarvis Butts in his home, basically. She was a long-winded question to basically ask, give us some insight into how Jarvis Butts plays into this household. I think this is a really good question. I want to hear what their answer is, and then we'll stop it here. I'll make sure that Aki puts the link inside of the description so that you guys can come back to this. Big shout out to the Community Advocate Network for hosting these women. They have excellent insight, and I appreciate their courage and their bravery, Janelle and Kawana, to come on this show and talk about Nizaya and give their inside perspective. I definitely would invite them to my show so that they could come through. We have a large audience. We can give that exposure that this child deserves. If not, keep doing whatever you're doing and keep speaking out for this little girl. But I want to see how they answer this question, and then we'll end it here. We'll have the link inside of the description, and then I got to go to work. Let's keep going.
With that process, but anything that you guys can share in terms of the dynamics of the home, as far as the access maybe that Jarvis had to the children. You said how many children were in the house, but again, like I said, with the public already being aware that there was issues with the grandmother, would you either one of you know how she was able to bring in foster children?
All right, so before she answers that, I see now where the financial, because somebody's like, people who have children for benefits, like welfare benefits, somebody was like, Medicaid pays for everything. It's disgusting. And it really is if that's your sole purpose for having children. But after Bill Clinton did welfare reform on a national level, nobody gets rich off of welfare. You don't. You don't. It's a little bit of money. It's not worth it. But you know what you can make a lot of money off of, ladies and gentlemen? That had nothing to do with Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich welfare reform. See, before you used to be able to raise a family off welfare. But after Bill Clinton, a Democrat, and Newt Gingrich, a Republican, they cut those benefits so low, people started starving. I remember when I was young, we were on welfare. I was old enough to remember that before they passed welfare reform, we always had a fridge full of food while my mother was struggling because our father abandoned us. But after welfare reform with Newt Gingrich, there's times we would run out of food before the end of the month. We'd have to go to soup kitchens. We'd have to eat free meals. It was rough. There were times that my belly was empty, and I still remember that to this day. To this day. That's why I work my ass off. That's why when I go to work today, I'm not going to be coming home till 3 a.m. to make sure that whenever those kids upstairs open that fridge, they don't just have food, they have good, healthy food. And I'm investing in them so that they can get good educations, so that they could grow up to support themselves, to make sure that their children can have good food and healthy food. Because I remember what it was like to be hungry. But there is a way for you to get rich. Of course, I'm exaggerating when I say rich. Well compensated is a more responsible word. By having children, and it's not legitimately having children, it's taking in children, and that's through the foster program. Because for each children, they give you sometimes upwards of over $1,000 for some children. On the low end, in the poor states, I heard $750. In some of the most richest states, they give you well over $1,000 per child. Now, if she's got 7 or 8 foster kids in that home, how much money do you think she's making every single month? Tax-free. On the low end, $4,000 to $5,000. On the top end, maybe upwards of $8,000 a month is a possibility if she's got foster kids. So that makes sense as to why so many young souls were running around that house, because she just said foster children. And if they're bona fide foster kids, grandma getting paid. Grandma is getting paid, ladies and gentlemen. And if that's your incentive, it may not be a positive incentive to have those children around, because if you're not fostering for the love of it, because there's a lot of foster parents who do it for the love of it. If you're just fostering for the money, then you're going to take those kids in, but you're not going to supervise those kids. You're not going to mother those kids. You're not going to love those kids. Those kids are a means to an end. So I get it now. My eyes are open. The path is clear. I get it. In my opinion, it was about the money. Let's keep going. Let's see how they answer this question. Let's get out of here.
In the home.
You want to answer that, Kiwana, or you want me to answer it?
It don't matter. You can answer.
Lies. She lied. And I'm assuming that foster care didn't do a very good check on her.
So she's saying that she lied. And somebody said occasionally classes 1,000 can't pay for medical, food, and tutoring, after-school activities, clothing, and gasoline to drive to and look after children. 1,000 per child, Classy. And she had like 11 in there. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So yeah, when you do 1,000 times 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you're definitely going to have enough to do the things that you want to do. Shoot, you could be leasing yourself a Mercedes-Benz with that kind of money. Remember, she live in the hood. She paying hood rent or hood mortgage. And she bringing in that kind of money. She was good. So far, Janelle says lies. Lies is what made this possible. Let's see what else she has to say.
When she was able to even get custody of Naziah and her brother, as well as Nas, when she was able to get the other foster children she has cared for, as well as the 2 children that she fostered and has adopted.
And also, I would like to add, we found that she had only made them aware that she had 2 children, and she has more than 2 children. So I don't know if cases were missed from that. I'm not sure. But
she has 7 children, and from what I understand, I have people I know who work in foster care and things like that. They ask you about your children. They want to interview your children, see how your children are, how they turned out, where their life went, what type of upbringing they had. Well, unfortunately, out of her 7 children, the first one ran away at a very young age. The second one, he stayed home to 18 and went to school. Then
good for him.
Zaya's mother.
Good for him. He made it out. He went to school. He made it out. He was blessed with common sense, even though common sense wasn't common in that household. She had 7 kids. I'll give her a pass, though, because she's the grandmother and it's a different time. She probably was born in the 40s, maybe, because these people are kind of young to be great aunts. They probably procreating as teenagers. So she started procreating as a teenager, then she may not be an old grandmother, but I give her a pass and assume she's an old grandmother. It's a different time. People made more babies back then, but she had 7 kids. 7 kids. So she's going through the rundown. 1 ran away, 1 stayed till 18 and went off and got an education. Naziah, now she's going to talk about Naziah's mother. Let's see if she says her mother's a cracker, because this is what I believe her to be.
She has had some difficulties in life and ran away at 13. Then the next child ran away at 16.
So she being nice, because Naziah's mother is a drug addict. And I saw pictures of her and videos of her on the streets, living in the streets, literally, under cardboards. Let's keep going. Another one ran away at 16. What's going on?
Then the next child left at 17 or 18.
They don't even become legal before they leave. That means that the mother is the problem. The grandmother is the problem, that all these kids choose the streets, choose abuse, choose exploitation over their own flesh and blood, over the JJ that they were birthed out of. They choose the streets over their own mother. That means the problem is the mother. Let's keep going.
And they just all have been going through some triumphs in their life that we feel they would have never had to go through if they had had better parenting. This is one reason why my father, like my father and my grandmother tried to help Annette when she was young. And she wasn't receptive to the help that she received. My grandmother and father got her 11 years old. She was pregnant. My grandmother helped her get a hood home, pay for attorneys to help her get her baby because he ended up becoming a ward of the state because she was so young.
Wow.
And Annette just continued to be promiscuous and things like that.
And this is the thing that kills me, and I'm going to end it here. And this is not a knack on Janelle. This is about ignorance. This kills me. And you find this in people who aren't that educated. And I don't know Janelle. I'm not trying to say she's not educated. I don't know her. I'm not trying to denigrate her at all. But this kills me. She's describing an 11-year-old girl that was pregnant. And then she goes on to say how the family tried to help her and get her own place and all this different stuff, but she continues to be promiscuous. That's victim blaming. You want to know why that's victim blaming, Janelle? Because an 11-year-old is not supposed to be pregnant. Because anytime you find an 11-year-old pregnant, you've got a victim of rape. Somebody took advantage of that child. Somebody preyed on that child. 11-year-olds, there is no way an 11-year-old in any part of the United States of America can consent to sex. So if that baby daddy is 17, he's a pedo. If he's 18, he's a pedo. If he's 16 or 15, he's a pedo. If he's 14, 13, 11, 12, then he's just a bad little, nasty little boy. But anything over 16 and up is a pedo. That's a victim. And she's not being promiscuous. She's acting out trauma. She's been traumatized. She was pregnated at 11 years old, and that product of rape was put inside of the system. And she's been dealing with adult situations since she was a baby. So don't judge her for continuing to have sex. She's a child. She's a baby. She's a victim. Her promiscuity has nothing to do with that. It's a symptom of her trauma. But I hate when people talk like that because she's blaming her. It's almost like it's her fault she got pregnant at 11. And it's almost like her fault that she kept having sex. She wouldn't stop being promiscuous. Well, you got a home, and you got her HUD home, a government-funded home, by the way. But she wasn't in nobody's home who's mentoring her. They got her own home at a very young age and expected her to have the tools to maintain that home. And then they helped her get her son back and expected her to, as a child, to have the tools to raise that. I didn't hear nobody say we got her a therapist. I didn't hear nobody say we got her into a counseling group for victims of sexual assault. I didn't hear nobody say we got her into parenting classes. I didn't hear nobody say we got her in touch with a detective like Strategic to trying to figure out who put that baby in her so we could send that mother effer away for the next 25 years so he won't go impregnate another 11-year-old. I didn't hear none of that. I heard it's her fault. She got pregnant. She wouldn't stop screwing around. She was a problem. We tried our best to help her, but she wouldn't help herself. That's what I heard. And that's the last thing I need to hear. Because we're already starting off on the wrong foot. So it don't matter how informative the rest of this is. I'm going to end this here. I might come back to it on my own, but that's all I needed to hear. We victim blame. But it's not Janelle's fault. Janelle is a good person. Janelle obviously loves Naziah. Janelle obviously did not like what she saw in that household. Janelle don't know no better. You know why? Because Janelle, as well-spoken as she is, and Kawana, as well-spoken as she is, she grew up in that filth. They grew up in that filth. So as much as they might have separated themselves, they still grew up in a place where that filth was normalized. That's why Janelle could make the statement that she made, that an 11-year-old got pregnant and we tried our best to help her, but she wouldn't keep her legs closed. Because if you don't grow up in that filth, that statement is unacceptable. So guys, please go check it out on your own. I'm getting hit up by these attorneys. I'll give them a call in a second. We're going to end this right here. Guys, like and subscribe, join the channel. Please consider becoming a member of the Strategic Eyes Show. I appreciate everybody who joined me today for this very sad commentary that we did today. but I hope it was very informative for you. I hope you now get a better understanding of what Naziah went through and a better understanding of what's to come in the trial that's about to start, because the judge has said that there's probable cause to move on to a trial. So this man will face a jury. So I hope I did a good job presenting this to you. So consider becoming a member of the Strategic Eyes Show. Support my channel. Make sure that you hit that like button so we can get into the algorithm. And if you want exclusive content that you can't find anywhere, whoa, let's not be too colorful with our talk. It's not that you can't find it anywhere. Well, my exclusive content you can't find anywhere because I made it. But some of the information that I get, I do source from other places. If you want to get a great commentary and exclusive content, consider becoming a member of the Patreon and the membership. The Patreon and the membership. I appreciate you guys immensely. Strategic is out of here. I didn't even cue up the outro. Let me cue up that outro. All right, let's try that again. Strategic is out of here. Peace.